there are people who are saying, look, the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, is still the commander-in-chief, that he has an obligation to make sure that place is managed well, even though he's outgoing. Do you agree to that?
You mean the Bomas of Kenya?
Yes, like to just make sure. I mean, the voting process, like you noted earlier, was done very smoothly to make sure nothing happens.
Yeah, but he has met. I think that's stretching it for me, because he's president and he has allowed independent institutions to operate, and the IEBC is fully funded. They ought to do their homework. I think removing the responsibility of IEBC and trying to deposit it in State House, it is not correct.
The security part.
Yeah, but the security part then is, of course, under State and Fred Matiang'i. But Fred Matiang'i has given, you can see, a lot of police. So how you actually manage those police yourselves, and you have all the powers to request them to do this or that.
Yeah.
So squarely, this belongs to IEBC. Let them know how to manage the I can say meetings. You know, more or less the same way we manage general meetings and board meetings.
Yeah.
You must be decisive, you must be intentional from the word go. Chebukati cannot assume that if there are 300 people in the hall, it will be the same like when there are 50 or 10. So he ought to have done his homework on that. And on that particular aspect, the commission has not done so well. Just to come in and be reactionary and say, let everybody go out. That's not good enough. So I think they should do better planning from the word go. And the rules should be very clear, Ben. The rules should be so clear to anybody that in Bomas, we expect this to happen. And these things should be like, so, you know, seamless, like my brother said.
Yeah.
So that nobody appears there. How does a person who has not been accredited to sit in a certain desk, how does he or she approach that desk? That is where the major issue is.
All right. How should the two presidential candidates, even as they sit in their command centers and watch this, how should they react to the commotion, the processes there?
No, I think they should do what they have done. They should be quiet. It is not their business. It's not their problem. They should wait for the votes. Even though, Ben, what is happening in Bomas of Kenya right now in terms of those push and pull will be translated to the supporters in the machinani, and that is where the danger is. But the presidential, I think Ruto already said if he doesn't win, he would accept the results. I saw that clip. I hope it was a genuine clip.
Both of them actually addressed
it. So if Raila Odinga has also said the same, then it is the IEBC who should do their homework, sanitize the hall by proper rules before people come to start fighting in the floor of the auditorium.
All right. So let's talk about.
You're not asking me how I think, what they're thinking. This president.
Yes, tell me. I thought you didn't.
Because I think they're thinking on how to go on holiday. I mean, because each of them thinks. I think there's none of. Yeah, sure. None of them thinks he will lose. Allowing that emotion to settle in their soul right now is one way of losing their alertness to bounce back and fight, you know, in case they really lose. So I think they're just thinking after this which better international destination I would go to. But there is, I think, that background feeling from both of them that in case I lose, then of course I have to find a way to justify it by one, first of all going out and then coming back and then putting his troops together. But having said this, man, William Ruto is a very fast scorer. He's a very, very fast striker. The way we've seen him come, since Member of Parliament to Deputy to now, he's a very fast striker. So, and Raila Odinga is kind of tactful, slow scorer. So I think that if William Ruto wins, there are very many chances that he will literally fold all these other people, parties, independent candidates, and several MPs from Azimio. He will take over them in a very fast way. Just judging from how fast he moves, how calculated he is, and then the tempo, the energy. But if Raila Odinga wins this thing, then of course using his tactful experience and all that, he will try to find out who can be talked to and who cannot be talked to. In what I have called a slow but tactful way of scoring, he will then be looking for who he can talk to. So, but in terms of losing, I don't think any one of them wants that emotion to settle in their belly. Yeah.
All right. Do you agree, Esban?
Well, I think that's a reality. Whether they want to, you know, settle into their system or not, you know, there's always logic, you know, but there's something the Greek call pathos, the emotional, you know, ability or innateness that we have, that whether you like it or not, you always think of success and failure. So, in my own opinion, both of them are looking at, you know, both sides of the coin, you know. Of course, a lot of times people are optimistic in this kind of contest. You didn't go into a contest knowing that you're going to lose. But there's also the reality that there's a likelihood of losing. And I think most of them are thinking, you know, we have protagonists from all over this country in both, you know, coalitions. So there are emotions of, you know, how do we deal with this? How does it, like, if for instance, Kenya Kwanza loses, you know, it's not a question of Mount Kenya has lost completely because they've overwhelmingly voted for Kenya Kwanza.
Right.
There are folks in Mount Kenya, in Azimio. So I think those emotions are going on in their minds, and because both of them are statesmen, so to speak, they're also looking at to what extent does the declaration of whoever wins portend, you know, a peaceful country,
right,
you know, coexistence among Kenyans. So I'm not convinced that they would run away from that kind of feeling, that if I lose, how do I deal with my supporters, and how do I ensure that the country continues, you know, and Kenyans don't, you know, degenerate into some sort of a turmoil. That must be going on in their minds.